Well, today is going to be a bit of a short episode. We got NXT with their main event for the NXT UK Heritage Cup between student and mentor, but also Impact Wrestling is dealing with the fallout now that we have a number one contender who would most likely be the one to dethrone Kenny Omega if he can, but also some news updates regarding certain releases, injuries, and things that just came around. So get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Deleted Wrestle Zone. All things that it's pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So let's begin with the latest episode of NXT UK. It started out with Rampage Brown taking on Callis member Wolfgang. Now keep in mind, this was a match that was going to lead to part two between Rampage Brown and Callis leader Joe Coffey. I have to say this match was really great. Two huge individuals. Sometimes we like to see bigger guys take on each other, and Wolfgang is amongst those guys. I cannot recall if I ever seen Wolfgang as a singles competitor, even though I've seen a majority of the time since watching NXT UK that he's a tag team specialist with Mark Coffey, Joe Coffey's brother. But it was a good match, and of course, it was great to see Rampage Brown coming out of making a huge victory after coming out short against Walter for the NXT UK Championship that he lost. But it's already been confirmed that in 2 weeks, but this one came from Sid Scalia, that in 2 weeks' time, we're going to have part two between Rampage Brown and Joe Coffey. Now, the next thing we have is Amela, the French beauty, who we all saw 2 weeks ago. She viciously attacked Zaya Brookside. The reason she did that, she thought by eliminating her, she gets rewarded for a chance to be in the gauntlet match for the number one contendership for the NXT UK Women's title. However, Sid Scala did not reward her whatsoever. The reasons of her attack was to prove that she was overlooked. So Sid Scala told her, "You're going to face Zaya Brookside when she's cleared." Now, you get to see Amela becoming more vicious than ever, try to prove a point that she is not going to be overlooked. But right now, her hunt for the NXT UK Women's title, we don't know how long is that going to take, because she beaten Zaya Brookside. Zaya Brookside did wanted payback for what she did to her, costing her an opportunity. But the real question is, who right now, Kaylee Ray is currently has her laser focus currently in Mako Satomura, which is going to be a good part two between those two. So we'll see what Amelia is going to do in the upcoming weeks or months. Now, as you know, Noam Dar's best friend, Shaw Samuels, I missed it in last week's episode. He helped Noam Dar to win against Nathan Frazier to ensure that he wins, because Shaw Samuels has a grudge against Nathan. It's not like personal, more like saying, you abandoned your UK bloodline to go to the States, and how dare you come back and learn our way. You're not a full-blown UK wrestler. That's what he's trying to do. But Nathan Frazier wants to have a little payback against Shaw Samuels. But of course, he has to go discuss this with Sid Scala, see if he accepts it. And we'll see what happens. It's still no word yet if that match is going to take place. Now, once again, the Supernova sessions that no good, arrogant, cocky Noam Dar tries to be a therapist. And his reason is his special guest is none other than Ilya Dragunov. As you all know what happened recently, Dragunov hasn't been the same since he lost to Walter for the NXT UK Championship. But he felt this time's the need, but it's later been told he's willing to challenge him. Now, I compare Ilya Dragunov as the Hulk. Maybe I should call him the Red Hulk or something, because he is Russian, because we all know the colors is red. But the one thing that would piss him off if you slap in the back of on his backside. And I hate to be Noam Dar because I hate that he would hospitalize him or something. But we'll see what happens. Now, in recent weeks, we have seen Sam Gradwell. He's calling Trent Seven a fraud, a pretender, a glory hoggler, whatever he wants. He's sick and tired of him acting that he's a founding father. But Sam Gradwell was part of the beginning until he was injured, and now he's back. And this time, he demanded Sid Scala to set up on the match. But of course, Scala has to go through Johnny Saint to make this match happen. It's still unclear when it's going to happen, but I can't wait to see it. Now, oh, never mind. I did find out when that match between Ilya Dragunov and Noam Dar is going to take place. I forgot. I wrote down in my notes. How dumb of me. It's going to take place 2 weeks' time at the same time as part 2 between Rampage Brown and Joe Coffey. Now, the main event is the NXT UK Heritage Cup tournament. Heritage Cup Championship. What an unbelievable match. Throughout the entire match, except for one win, one pinfall, it was all 0. Evenly matched. But the last round, whoever wins this round will win. And that is something I never heard of. But it was crazy. They were evenly matched. Now, I don't know how to explain this, but it was an unbelievable match. And Tyler Bates somehow overcame it. He's finally the NXT UK Heritage Cup champion, and I can't wait to see what's next for him now that he achieved the one thing he wasn't part from the beginning, and now he's involved in it permanently. So, I think that's pretty much it, so let's keep moving forward. Alrighty then, so we're in the fallout since Under Siege by Impact Wrestling. As you know, I mentioned we have a new number 1 contender for Kenny Omega's Impact World Championship. But let's just go right now with start to finish in this for the latest Impact show. First up, we have Rohit Raju being accompanied by Shera taking on Jake Something. Now, this match is a bit of a payback from Jake Something to get his hands on Rohit Raju. If you all recall, they were setting up qualified matches for that 6-man scramble match for the number 1 contendership that led to the match in Under Siege. Jake Something had Chris Bay where he wanted, but Rohit Raju stuck his nose where it did not concern him. But however, now he got his match. In this match, things would have gone his way. But however, what I did like is the fact that Rohit Raju won. But what I did like is how Shera was being manhandled by Jake Something. Like, Rohit Raju, what can he do? He's standing there. Either he's being a coward that he doesn't want to get involved, or 2, he just got out of the match. I mean, he's like, doesn't know what to do. He's watching Jake Something annihilating him in every way possible with chairs and tables. But is this feud between them far from over? I don't know, but we'll just wait and see when we get there. Now, this next interview came from Taylor Wilde. As you know, she got a successful tag team win along with Tennille Dashwood. But however, her motives are now clear. After 10 years she's been gone from the wrestling business, she has returned to do one thing only, is to become the Impact Wrestling Knockouts champion. However, once again, Tennille Dashwood and Caleb with the K are trying to drag her into a life that she feels it's not for her. We all know Tennille Dashwood that she's terrible with partners. Look, with um, Alicia, Jordan Grace, Madison Rain. These are women that she walked out on. And these are women who, okay, I'll team up. And then here comes one person. I don't want nothing to do with you. You know, that's not my concern. The Knockouts tag team titles. That's what she's trying to say. But Tennille is acting like she doesn't know what she's doing. Like she thinks she knows what's best for her. I mean, look, we all can agree Taylor Wilde is a Knockouts champ and a Knockouts tag team champ. But right now, she's her focus on that. Next up, as we all know what happened at Under Siege. Rachel Ellering and Jordan Grace lost the Knockouts tag team titles to Fire and Flava. But Jordan Grace went to talk to Scott D'Amore about what to do to get back out there. And when she came back later on in the episode, they set up for a match against each other, which was, But I did like the concept because Jordan Grace is starting to feel she may not be the same Jordan Grace that we remembered. I mean, storyline is normal the way it goes because we see those type of wrestlers that don't feel they were the same. I mean, look what happened in Nevaeh, even though she's no longer with Impact Wrestling. Now, this next match is between Kara Hogan alongside with Tasha and Tennille Dashwood along with Caleb. She believes that this match would guarantee her a spot to qualify to become number one contender for the for the Knockouts tag team titles. And you can tell in this match that Caleb with the K tried to help, and of course Tennille Dashwood won the match. But however, the beatdown was happening. But the whole post match, turns out here comes Kimberly, Deonna Purrazzo, and Susan, who has unfinished business with Tennille Dashwood because they don't appreciate her getting involved in something that doesn't belong. I think Deonna Purrazzo was ignoring Taylor Wilde, but she may not be Wilde, but be ignoring her. Taylor Wilde made her move against Deonna Purrazzo, even though the numbers game. Here comes Havoc with the save, and also while the other women tried to escape, they ran through the hills when they saw Decay. And they're the last people they ever want to mess with. And I thought it was funny. It kind of reminds me like, the villains thinking they got away and the good guys they're helpless, but here comes the devil coming to get them. I thought that was a very fun segment. They ran through the hills like that. Now, good news coming out of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Once again, the Forbidden Door is happening. As you know, the last person to make his appearance is El Phantasmo, who had a great match in Under Siege against Josh Alexander. This time we got Satoshi Kojima. He will make his Impact Wrestling debut next week. And this is going to be one heck of a debut. Can't wait. I mean, we're now seeing New Japan wrestlers going to Impact or AEW, but that's another conversation for another time. Now, we get an interview from the tag champions, Finjuice. As you know, they are meant that they were going to beat the Good Brothers, but this time the real question is, are they prepared to face against guys like Ace Austin and Madman Fulton? Look, I talked about this before. I said I would like to see how it looks like to see Ace Austin and Madman Fulton winning the tag titles. I mean, look, you got Madman Fulton, a powerhouse. You got a guy like Ace Austin, the X Division. That's going to be a killer move. I would like to see it. Now, the next match we have is VSK taking on Petey Williams. As you know, I always love it when Petey Williams shows up and finish off the match with the Canadian Destroyer. One of my favorite moves that I love watching. So, good. Thank you, Petey Williams, for making my day again. Now, as you know, in Under Siege, Rich Swann made his return, helping his boy, Willie Mack, when he was being beaten down by W. Morrissey. He made remarks about him, about his behavior, about the way he acted, but Morrissey viciously attacked him and tossed him outside. Basically, Morrissey goes out saying that he is not the bad guy here. Everybody's the bad guy. Well, I like to see him say that more often because we'll see what's going to happen. Now, once again, we head back to Swingers Palace. TJP is on a roll, winning some luck, but he actually runs into Fallah dressed up as the ladies. I'm like, what the heck is this? I'm like, whose idea was this in the creative department to do that? That's kind of bothered me a little bit. But I think what later led is the tag team reunion with Fallah and TJP. Even PD tried to get back with him, but he acted like, oh, they lost the match last in Under Siege for the #1 contendership. Which I had to say, I don't know what was the idea, maybe because he thought that, oh, teaming with PD was more of that, oh, because of the whole math thing, if you guys remember. Now, the next thing we see is a promo from Moose. Moose is determined to become world champion. That has always been his goal. But however, I knew this was going to happen right from the start. I talk about it every time about the storyline. Don Callis will not tolerate Moose about that comes out of his mouth. But of course, Moose was not going to let Don Callis play mind games the way he did with Rich Swann. He reminded him, I'm not Rich Swann. I can notice that Moose is laser focused trying to get the title. But the real question is, in this point, can Kenny Omega pull off the one-wing angel? He even tried to do it on him when the Good Brothers showed up, but Sami Callihan showed up because he has unfinished business. As you know, last time, Sami Callihan was part of the #1 contendership match in Under Siege, but they took him out due to being the threat to Kenny Omega's title reign. But however, in the backstage, Moose wanted to talk to him. He thought, no, you're expecting me for a thank you. No, Sami didn't need a thank you. Basically, he's like allowing Moose, okay, you get what you want. You want this title match? Go ahead. But keep in mind, it's either going to be you or Kenny. I'm going to get back what is mine. And I have to say, this is becoming more, okay, who is going to be the face of the company? To be honest with you, I feel Moose should be the one to gain the title. And that is something I've always wanted to see. But hopefully, if that could happen. Now we get to the match. Rachel Ellering versus Jordynne Grace. Man, what a great match. I have to say, I hardly ever seen Rachel Ellering. The last time before coming to Impact, she was in a tag team match with Daja Gonzalez for the AEW Women's Tag Team Tournament, which she lost in the first round with Daja. But for her to get involved in this, I was like, what a great powerhouse, in my opinion. I never got the chance to see her full potential as a singles competitor, but seeing her in it brought a smile into my face. And I did love how she won. They showed some respect at the end of the match, but the question still remains, what does this mean for Jordynne Grace? Is she still the same person that we remembered? Who knows? But we'll find out in the upcoming weeks when this continues on. Now, as you know, for months we've been getting bad mood Brian Myers. He's in a bad mood recently. Now, as you know, he's happy he defeated Black Taurus, but he's unhappy that he believes that Impact Wrestling wasted their time in giving a shot to Cardona to be part of the #1 contendership match. He felt it should have been him, that they wasted their time with him. But however, he saw him. Matt Cardona did not want nothing to do with him. But Brian Myers is now upset. Now I think in the story that I starting to see, okay, he's saying you are the reason I cannot succeed. The problem is, Brian, you keep telling people you are the professional, but you're not. You're not professional. And that's the reason. He even tried to beat Eddie Edwards for when he was the Impact World Champion, but he did not win. So basically, he thinks that he is the true franchise of the Impact Wrestling. No, he's not. He hasn't won any gold yet. But we'll see what happens in the upcoming weeks. Now, our main event is the Impact Wrestling World Tag Team Championship between Ace Austin and Madman Fulton against the champions Finjuice. What a credible match. Now, I would have assumed right from the start Finjuice would retain the titles. It was simple as that. But however, it did not go. We just jumped in with Violent by Design, Joe Dorian and Rhino. They decided to take a shot of the tag team titles, but I'm like thinking, why? And that's when I realized we forgot about one thing. So if you guys are watching this, do this. That means we missed something. What did Rhino won last year? Called Your Shot trophy. Basically, what he got. He was waiting for Heath to return so they can get a shot of the tag team title. But since he joined Violent by Design, he kept that. So they used it and they'd allowed to win the Impact World Tag Team title. So we got new champions. But however, what does this mean for Finjuice? Well, maybe the fun lasted as well as can, because I did report it about David Finlay that he's been considering making the jump to WWE, and of course he's currently in quarantine, but there's still more to come. Um, don't know yet, because we're seeing little by little New Japan stars coming to Impact, but we'll see who's becoming next. But also, before I end it here and move on to the news updates, we continue to see the same thing we saw last year, the tease of wrestlers that were released recently by WWE. Now, there's two names in mind that I do believe they could make the return. One is the Samoan submission machine, the Samoa Joe, and of course, Chelsea Green, but I forgot what was her name she used while she was Impact. So right now, let's end it right here and move forward with the news updates. Okay, so welcome to the news updates. First one we're going to talk about right now is the sad news coming from New Japan Pro Wrestling. Has been revealed that Will Ospreay has to vacate his IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. You're probably saying, but J-Rod, why? He had it too short. Well, it turns out that he injured his neck while he was facing Shingo Takagi at night 2 in Wrestling Dondaku. Now, as you know, you probably say, but why couldn't he keep the title? There's a certain rule that they have. They have to compete that within the title. If you're champion, you have to compete within the 6 months. If they're unable to compete within 6 months, then they have no other choice. Now, it's still no clear how extensive the neck injury is, but if it's that bad, then he has to do the only option. No, the only option he has. This thing has happened before. We had that with Hiromu Takahashi twice when he was the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. He had to relinquish not once but twice the title. Same thing with Yo of Roppongi 3K when he torn an ACL. He and Sho had to relinquish the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team. So that means you have to compete within 6 months, while if you're still injured. So basically, he had no other choice. But from what I understand now, he's on his way back to the UK for treatment, and rehabilitation. So it's still unclear when he'll be back, but what's going to mean for the IWGP World Heavyweight title. I do know Shingo Takagi should be competing for it, but the real question is who else is in line. It's still unclear if Naito or some of the wrestlers who were quite fond of just having two titles, if they're willing to accept this title. They were never strongly agreed with having the IWGP World Heavyweight title combined into one. But all we can do is wait and see what's going to happen. We do know New Japan will be returning soon. Next up, we have the recent news. Velveteen Dream has been released by WWE. Now, some of you who hated this guy because of what happened last year when he sent inappropriate photos to a minor, you're probably saying, thank God that bastard's gone. I get that. Now, some of you question why now? Why is it? I don't know. We do know recently that they said WWE were going to look into the accusations that were coming. I know many fans were not too thrilled with it. We do know he was used a little less in NXT. We haven't seen him for a long time. But there were recent reports coming in that he was at a backstage area during a Raw event. We were in the assumption that he may be making the jump to the main roster, but it appears it's not. I don't know. There's still no statement coming from Velveteen Dream because it's odd that he was released a day after the talent that were released from NXT. I mentioned them before, and I will mention them again in a little bit. Now, news comes in now, as you know, don't know yet. If you guys know who Don Callis is, yes, he's the guy who is the advocate for Kenny Omega. He was also serving as the executive vice president and part of the creative team in Impact Wrestling. He's officially no longer working for the company, but as an executive or responsibilities. But however, he will remain with the company as a performer. Being by Kenny's side. According to reports coming from PW Insider and Fightful Select, he already finished with his job as the co-executive vice president last month. It's still unclear that if they're going to replace him, but we do know that Tommy Dreamer and Jimmy Jacobs and another guy are involved in the creative team. So as for Don Callis, what this means, there's possible talks that he could have a possible future with AEW. I don't know. Still no word coming from them yet, but if it is, we'll be watching and see what they will throw on to that. Now, if you guys are fans of Progress Wrestling out of the UK, it was later revealed that certain wrestlers are now been talking about who would they like to wrestle from WWE or non-WWE wrestlers. Now, you probably ask yourselves, wait a minute, J-Rod, Progress Wrestling is an independent promotion out of the UK. Why would they get involved with WWE? Well, for those who do know, or those who don't, well, I should say those who don't know and those who do know, Progress Wrestling has an affiliation uh, relationship with WWE. Basically, wrestlers go there. Now, recently it was later reported that Progress Wrestling has a vacant women's championship. The last champion was none other than the fashionista Ginny, who made now her working more time with NXT UK. However, they did find competitors that could be in line for this title. That one is Kanji, and the other one is Giselle Shaw, who I followed when she was with WOW. So it's still unclear. But however, they did ask them who would they like to face who is either WWE or non-WWE wrestlers. Kanji actually said that she would like to face Jordan Grace, who was a former Progress Wrestling Women's Champion. And of course, we all know she's a non-WWE wrestler, but for WWE wrestler that she wants to face is, of course, the current member of the NXT UK roster, Meiko Satomura, which is a good one. Now, as for Giselle Shaw, she would say that she would like to face Sasha Banks. That will be a killer match for me to watch because I love Giselle Shaw, what she can do. She's very talented, very aggressive. And I don't know if she's still the Rev Pro Women's Champion because she's worked with many British promotions, even though she's Canadian. Now, well, she's Canadian Filipino or Filipino Canadian. I think that's the term. Anyway, the last thing I want to report: two former NXT women's stars broke their silence. One is Jessamine Duke. As you know, she was part of the MMA Four Horsemen, which Ronda Rousey, uh, Shayna Baszler, and all that. We haven't seen Duke for a long time because ever since Shayna made the jump to the main roster, it's still unclear what she's been doing. We haven't seen her since, and it was kind of strange. But she has been involved with the down, the Xavier Woods' Twitter page, and she does have her own. It's still unclear now what she's going to be doing since she's no longer part of the roster. Now, recent one came from Vanessa Bourne, who was also amongst those who were released yesterday. Vanessa Bourne put out a video how she's grateful with the opportunity she gained being in WWE. Uh, of course, she kind of said some things to the haters. I'm talking about haters who don't like WWE and that how they fired the wrestlers, and that includes like myself. She feels grateful for the opportunity, but she never got the chance to wrestle someone. I couldn't make out clear, but we don't know what's the journey gonna be like with her now that she's no longer with the company. All we can do is wait and see what's her next chapter, and hopefully we can be there to support her and be grateful where she's gonna end up. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, me reviewing NXT UK and Impact Wrestling and throw out these news updates that just came out to my lap. Keep in mind, this Saturday we're going to have the Hana Kimura Memorial Show on Fight TV. Hope you guys are ready to watch it. I will review that possibly the following day. The reason I may not review it on Saturday, reason is it's my mother's birthday, and I am possibly going to have my return from my other channel, which is uh, J Rod the Drummer 83. If you guys, that's more of my personal channel where I actually do things, go out with family, hang out with friends, do things. And also, if you guys know, I'm a drummer myself. I do some drumming cam videos where you can see me play, mostly coming from my church, or I'm gonna do some things in the future, in the upcoming months when I get the opportunity. So basically, I'll be caught on with this, and of course with that. But also keep in mind, the next episode will contain 205 Live, and of course, New Japan Strong, and I'll throw in the occasional one or two Japanese wrestling shows if I have the opportunity to do so. But for right now, I'll see you guys in the next the DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.